committed all my mics to recording the bass, but I'd been wondering for a long time if I could get analog octave effects like blue box octave downs or Octavia octave ups from a ZOIA. And I've mostly figured it out using multipliers and aliasers. And so far, so good. It's not too bad. I built a giant fuzz patch, which I like a lot. Its main characteristic is that it kind of sounds like old death metal. I don't know if you like this stuff. It makes me happy. Okay, so right now the drive stage is built around an overdrive. So you have your gain of the overdrive going into the fuzz, and then the main output level of the overdrive as it feeds into the fuzz. And then you have the fuzz gain. And then the fuzz output volume, which is set, right now is set kind of to unity. But I think we've got a great deal of but anyway, unity. Or close to it. And honestly, I've tried stacking this a bunch of different ways, and I'm not sure how much difference the drive going into the fuzz makes, but for the octave effect, you need two things to combine. So the overdrive and the fuzz are feeding before their filters into a multiplier, and without two sources and two sources that can run kind of hot, you don't really get the octave effect you want. So right now, this row of buttons exists as your kind of fuzz control, and it does have some effect. It does have some effect. So there's more overdrive gain and less fuzz. But for the most part, the ZOIA distortion modules really aren't all that flexible. So I like to try and let the fuzz do most of the work. The overdrive is mostly for feeding the octave effect. So the fuzz itself has controls for a low roll-off, the mid gain, and the high roll-off, which, especially the lows and the highs, if you get rid of the high roll-off, you get really fizzy. And the lows, I set up the lows to be before the fuzz and the highs to be after the fuzz, because a lot of the times changing how much bass goes into a fuzz has a lot more to do with the character of the distortion. Of course, I'm miking this with a Sennheiser E609, which is a little mid-rangey and doesn't really, it's not the bassiest mic in the world, so. But coming out of the speaker, I'll know when I listen to it back. Coming out of the speaker, I can tell it gets a little flubby. So low and high roll off, and then the mid-range is, if you leave it around 0, that's a scoop at 1 kilohertz, which is basically the big muff scoop, which is kind of what I was going for. So you're scooping more. And you can give it positive gain, which doesn't really sound good at 1,000. But you can give it that cocked wah sound. Okay, maybe not that much gain. So you can sculpt the fuzz as much as you want. And I actually really like my ZOIA fuzz right now. But the thing I was working on, like most specifically, was the octave stuff. So right now, the octave is the center foot switch, indicated by the purple lights as they come on. And like an analog octave fuzz, it gets a lot more expressive the higher up on the neck you go. And it adds grind when you're down lower, like Fox tone machines do this. The two controls are for the mix. So you can dime this so you're only getting the output from the multiplier. Which sounds pretty nasty. And you've got volume for what's coming out of the multiplier, so you can make the octave louder or quieter if you need to. If you're doing one of those stoner rock grooves and you were playing one of those parts that had a starved version of the riff, also, if you're running something after your ZOIA, like the 100% version, I'm going to get a little more gain. If you set the octave for 100%, it's great for filling in the octave effect for the next fuzz in the chain. So. So that's the upper octave fuzz. And then the version, the closest I've got with lower octave is using an aliaser. So the aliaser is built around this push button is pitch track. And then these radio buttons are octaves. Right, so there's octave 1, there's octave 2, and there's octave 3. And then you have a frequency knob. The frequency knob goes a lot of places. You can really, really mess up your tone. And the octave buttons still do what they do in reference to the frequency that you've set. If you leave it at its lowest octave and you set it to something that's just detuned enough, that's where you get a decent version of like a blue box octave. And you can, and this is going to be a mess, but you can engage both of those octave up, octave down simultaneously. And the octave down is based on a pitch tracker, which is not polyphonic. So if you start playing chords through it, it's going to get really messy really fast, which is not a bad thing when you're playing this sludge. I think that's all of the controls except for this one, which I called Sputter. It's the gate control. About halfway is a really tight, fast gate. I've got active pickups on this thing. So depending on what you're playing, you might need to turn this up or turn this down to get exactly the effect I'm getting right now. But if you crank it, you can get, I don't think it's actually like a Velcro fuzz, but it's close. Anyway, I've always been prejudiced against digital fuzzes, and I decided to walk past that and, see what the ZOIA could do for me if I really dealt with its distortion section. And I'm actually really happy. So it's not exactly a big muffin, it's not exactly a Fox tone machine, and it's not exactly a blue box, but these are a bunch of things that I've been hoping the ZOIA could do, and until I really, really started messing with it, I didn't think it was possible. But apparently, you can get pretty close. And this is my first on camera one of these. I usually just have a loop playing and I put text over the screen. So I hate being on camera, but I thought I wanted to talk this one through. Anyway, hope it's good. Hope you like it.